Hello, everybody. Ella J here on behalf of WrestleZone, and today I'm joined by the Arachnoid, Blair Onyx. How are you
Hello,
today?
everybody. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. I think it's been like 2.5 years. The last time we met slash saw each other, it was 1 a.m. in Arlington, Texas,
Oh my God.
right after
What a trip. What a
WrestleMania.
trip.
Like, girl, we were both out of it, but it was really a fun night and really a fun trip.
Yeah.
Um, and I want to talk about though a trip that an old friend of yours made a trip across the world. To re we're gonna say to reunite with you. I'm talking about Tarly, of course,
Yes,
your
yes.
former Black and Brave training academy, fellow trainee. You
Yeah.
guys got to wrestle each other for the first time, which is kind of crazy to think about, but it
Mhm.
makes sense though because you're kind of based in two different sides of the world. So tell us
Yeah.
about your reunion with Tarly and wrestling her for the first time.
It was so cool. Like 6 years. I haven't seen this girl in 6 years. Like so much happens. And I felt like I was like in a way I was a little bit like worried. Like people change and like I was
Yeah.
like, I hope we're like so good and like things went so well and like I got to spend her first week here together and like um we got to wrestle each other and like we had like a practice match like when we were first starting and like to have that and then be able to have like an actual match and like it go well and like I'm really proud of the match we had for SCW Pro. I'm Yeah, I just it was a really, like, big full circle moment, and it was awesome for her to, like, come at a time where I feel like I'm in a good mental space and, like, I'm doing well, and, like, I'm really glad, like, the timing worked out the way that it did.
Yeah, I'm so happy to see that, and it's so crazy too because again, you've gone through a lot. She's also gone through a lot where she was
Yeah,
possibly considering retiring because of injury. Obviously, you yourself have
yeah,
dealt with some injury and like you said, a lot of
mhm.
mental health stuff going on. But I'm so glad to see the reunion photos of you two,
Yeah, it was
and
cool.
getting to wrestle for the first time. Kind of bringing that full circle. Next week is actually, I think, your 6 year anniversary. Like this weekend, actually, is your 6 year anniversary since your pro wrestling match. So it's kind of around that same time, right after your training out of Black and Brave. You made your debut. How do you think you've grown since that time, training with the likes of Tarly, your debut match, and now fast forward to October 2024?
Yeah, I feel like I have had the blessing of having a lot of ups and downs in my career. I have felt I've wrestled at a low periods of my life. I've wrestled during high periods of my life. So I feel like it's nice to see both perspectives, and I think it's nice to, I feel like you need the really good to have the really bad no, the really bad to have the really good or vice versa, you know? But, like, I don't know. I feel grateful that I've been able to stay generally healthy while doing this for 6 years, and I've had so much fun, and I'm so excited what's gonna come next, and I don't know, I feel very grateful to, like, be in the headspace that I've been in recently, especially in the past year, because there was definitely a few years of my career where I felt like things were not moving and like my career was not going well and it felt like everything in my life was just going wrong. And like I feel like at that time I pointed at like everything besides like myself and like at the same time like I feel like I never lost my work ethic and I was always present doing shows and trying in my head I was working so hard but like when I took time to reflect and think about the things I was wasting like my energy on and like I would think about, man, like what are the things that make me upset every day? Like what do I think about that brings me like negative feelings and brings me down? Even if it's I think about it for like 5 minutes and that's it. I still think it makes a difference to point the stuff out that makes you feel bad throughout the day because I feel like every day we have like a finite amount of energy and we need to be careful on what we use it on because if I want to do crazy things with my life and I want to be at this place that's so hard to get to, why would I waste my energy on like things that don't matter? And like I could go and travel and help at so many shows and try my best to get my name out there, but if I'm not putting in the work and taking care of myself like the days that I'm not traveling for shows, like how much progress like am I actually making? So I definitely feel like a few of my years, like, nothing happened, but and I could look back and be like, "Man, like, I wish I did this, this, and this," but, like, no, like, I had to live through that period of time to understand and, like, actually process, like, "Girl, the way you're living, it's not working out for you, like, you things are not going well," and I feel like I've done so much work on myself in the past year, and, like, I feel like I'm really starting to appreciate wrestling and, like, be happy like I was, like, my first 2 years. I remember I would always look back like, "Man, I was so happy my first 2 years, like, what happened?" And then I feel like I honestly worked
The
myself
honeymoon period.
yeah, like, it was fun and exciting and new, but, like, at the same time, I feel just as happy now, 6 years in, than, like, as I did then. And so I feel like it was about perspective, and it was about my values, and it was about, like, loving the idea of working hard and, like, trying to get better and, like, having, like, the beginner mindset all the time because and, like, staying, like, grounded and, like, staying true to yourself and not letting, like I feel like us as wrestlers, sometimes we're really used to being catered to and, like, being cheered at, and I think it's really healthy to be able to take a step back from that and, like, be able to recognize, like, why did I start wrestling? Like, what made me love this? Like, what, like, motivates me to work hard and try to be better every single day. And I feel like once you start thinking like that, and you start working like that and your actions follow your thoughts, like doors just open. And that's been my experience recently. Like I still feel like I have a long way to go, but I feel like recently I've been having a lot more opportunities than I've been used to. And it has not been caused by the way I thought I would get them. It was caused by me staying home sometimes and using the day to take care of, like, myself and, like,
Yeah.
going to the gym more, and, like, that's the stuff that honestly got me further in wrestling than, like, working myself into the ground, like, in my head. Like, because always, like I was talking about this earlier, sorry to yap, but I was talking about this earlier at training, or at a show, someone, like, complimented me on, like, the transformation I've had and, like, how I've been working hard, and I am so grateful that people are, like, recognizing that I've been working hard and being nice and, like, saying good things to me, but I feel like as, like, a person, I kinda have, like, imposter syndrome in a way where, like, when I was going through it and when I was going through, like, the worst time in my life, it felt like I was working so much harder, but I wasn't. Like, I wasn't doing, like, all the things I do now, but when you're, like, in that mental state and it's, like, hard to get out of bed sometimes, like, it feels like your day is the heaviest day ever, and so now that I have my routine and I have, like, the things that I do and, like it's a lot about learning about yourself too, right? Like, because sometimes I think in entertainment, we can get really caught up in the dopamine of it and, like,
Yes.
having the like, going you I feel like people hear this a lot, like, to go from, like, so many people cheering and, like, reacting to, like, crazy stuff that we do, like, that stuff gives you, like, an adrenaline rush too, and then to go to, like, a hotel room alone, like, a lot of wrestlers and people in entertainment struggle with that, and I think sometimes you see, like, when people get too caught up in it or, like I've been there, you know, like, I was so caught up in the things that wrestling can get you sometimes and, like, the attention and, like, um, I feel like if you, like, do the inner work and you reflect on yourself and, like it felt good to a certain extent, but, like, if you're doing wrestling for, like, some sort of, like what's the best way to put it? Self-validation or, like, ego? I think ego is the best word for it, that can only get you so far because I feel like you'll get to a point where you're satisfied with your ego or you feel like you've gotten to where you wanna be, and I feel like that's when the mindset switches to, "Okay, I got there and now I don't have to work hard anymore
Yeah, I've
because I
fallen right
did it."
in, yeah.
Yeah, and so I feel like it is really all about, like, values, right? And, like, what we believe in and, what we think will make us good. Because when I was struggling for a few years, I truly in my head was thinking like, "Okay, like, your things are falling apart, you know, you had a good time, like, maybe, like, it's time." I had, like, those feelings of, like, maybe it's you did the most you could, and, um, I think it's normal or human to, like, get those feelings and, like, feelings of self-doubt, and, it's up to us really what we do with them. It's up to us, like, if we wanna throw in the towel. Because sometimes wrestling is not the end all be all. Like, I think the end all be all is being happy in life, and I think being real with yourself and, like, being real with, like, the things that make you happy day to day it'll bring like the happiness that I think that wrestling success, like, people think that will give you, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
truly feel like the happiness that you think you will have if you're anywhere you want to be, right? If you do the inner work, I think you can find it now. Like, I think you can find it with where you're at. And then imagine like you're already happy and then you get to do those things. Like, wouldn't that be so much better than like being defined by this like goal? Like, we're more than our jobs. We're like human beings. Like, it's the funnest job in the world. It's like the coolest thing I've ever done and probably will ever do, but I have to have a life outside of it, or I truly feel like it will drive me crazy.
Yeah, and you mentioned obviously during those self-reflective periods, asking yourself these questions like what motivates you. So kind of along that lines, I know one of the things that motivates you, which we'll get into further, is classes with Kylie Rae. We'll get into that. But what else currently, what keeps you motivated, through that and obviously now in the present day?
Well, also I want to say like, I think sometimes um when things look good on social media or if someone's doing well in like their wrestling field, it's easy to assume that everything is good, everything is fine now. When
Yeah.
in reality, that sometimes is not the case. Like, I feel like I definitely have been struggling recently, but I found a lot of strength in being able to go through something tough and still execute everything I wanted to do. Still do my projects, still do my bookings, still stay in the gym and keep my routine. I think that showed me a lot of growth in myself. But I think the things that keep me going is I feel like I had a conversation with myself and I asked myself, like, why do you want to be where you want to be? Like, what is the goal? What is the reason? And for me, one of my biggest goals is to pay off my parents' house. I really would love to do that for them because we moved here in '03 from Russia,
Mhm.
and they kind of moved here in their like 40s. So I feel like they had kind of a later start on like payments and stuff. So that's one of my goals in wrestling, to just be able to pay that stuff off and like have them not worry about it and be like financially stable myself and be good. Like, I want to do like the things that will make my life post wrestling easier. I want to like get myself a house. Like, that would be amazing. Like, that's one of my like biggest goals. And I think if I want to make that kind of money in wrestling, I need to like work the hardest that I can and like still keep my balance and keep my like rest. And I feel like sometimes it's a mistake to push yourself like crazy all the time, because I think you will crash at a certain point, but in your brain, it's still going to be like, I'm still working that hard.
Yeah.
When in reality, you're not doing much. You're just so stressed and so like, like tight and anxious the whole day. But I think like when things get tough or like something in wrestling doesn't go the way I want or anything, I just remember like, what's your why? Like, why are you doing this? Why? Um, what's the like end all be all for you working this hard? And I feel like if you're real with yourself and it's something that truly motivates you, it won't be like I was saying. I truly feel like now I'm not working as hard as I used to, and I'm getting so much more results. And like, it's crazy. Who would have thought? Honestly, like, I feel like the answer that I was looking for was balance and like making time for things that are not wrestling sometimes. And like, you wouldn't think that would help in wrestling, but it actually does. From my experience, everyone's is different
Mhm.
too.
One of the things though that I know especially motivated you and actually you've said is made you fall back in love with wrestling was your classes at Freelance with Kylie Rae, which you actually just came back from, Black and Brave. Now you're at Freelance, which isn't too far.
Yeah.
What about Kylie's classes made you fall back in love with wrestling? Or what about obviously she has this infectious energy, so I can get it, but you're there firsthand. What about her or her classes made you fall back in love with this crazy sport?
I feel like m me and her just, like, got along really well, and when I was first, like, trying to get my, like, life together and turn my life around, I was really nervous to, like, go back to training. I don't know what made me so, like, freak out so much about it, but it's just the idea freaked me out, and
Yeah.
it would be tough. Like, I would be like, my heart would be pounding hours before training, but I think one week I just told myself, like, "Why don't you just start going to Kylie's classes? Like, she's so sweet, like, you know her, like, she's so nice. Like, just go to one class a week." And, like, I think that was the one of the first things, like, I just started doing consistently, like, going to her classes. Like, I love Kylie's classes, but I feel
Yeah.
like I've also learned so much from Isaiah
Sure.
Velasquez's classes. Um, I feel like I would be going into training a lot and I would be just so in my head about everything. Like, I would overthink every single thing and freak out, and it would honestly half the time make me mess up. Like, I knew how to do what I was trying to do, but I would be so, like, on edge that I would mess it up. And I feel like I have grown a lot just by, like, making myself uncomfortable, and, like, I feel like going to both of their classes and being consistent more than 1 time a week and, like, trying to train as much as I can, like, it really motivated me to just keep going because the really anxious, freaking out feelings I felt, um, for training, I noticed the more I went, they went away. And to not have those feelings now, like, now when I go to training, I'm fine. I don't really think about it too much. Like, I get excited. I think it's gonna make me better. And it took, like, that exposure therapy of just, okay, this is making me so uncomfortable, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Like, I'm still gonna do it. And then, like, to not have those feelings anymore made it so much easier to just keep going. And I feel like it was kind of like a logarithmic scale, what I'm talking, like, where it's like it starts off here, 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 and
Yeah.
then okay, we're there. It really was one of those situations. So I feel really grateful for the Freelance Wrestling Academy school. I think it's an awesome school. If anyone, like, here is listening to this and you're in the Chicagoland area, that's where I train, and I feel like I really turned my career around wrestling there and training there. I feel like everyone has this, like, I've never, like, it feels just so positive all the time, and everyone kind of, like, wants everyone to be better generally. F every school, there's problems, but I feel like I've never been so supported, and I feel like people genuinely want me to do good, and it's it's very, very, like, nice to have that and, like, have it be close and, like, be able to learn from, like, all of our trainers. Like, we have seminars sometimes. We have Isaiah's, we have GPA, we have Kylie, like, and to learn, and, like, sometimes, like, we have different trainers come in too. So to be able to learn from a lot of people is so cool. And to be able to go, like, I would love to go to more schools, and, like, if I had the money, I would be, like, flying out to go to train at different schools all the time. But it's just unfortunately not something I can afford at this
Mhm.
time. But that'd be awesome. Like, if I had, like, the money for it and I could go, and that's insane, like, for me now, like, 'cause
Yeah.
us indie wrestlers, we don't really be, um, but, um, that would be, like, another reason why I would want to, like, have financial freedom like that. And I really do think, like, if you treat this like a job and you really, like, know your limits and your boundaries and, like, the things that are working and you're smart about it, I really do think it's possible. I really do think so.
What's one specific thing that you've learned from Kylie and or Isaiah?
Isaiah's, he what do you I feel like Isaiah's really taught me to just get out of my head and to just, like, stop thinking and just do it. And I feel like with Kylie, I feel like I love her work ethic. I love the way she thinks. I love the way she thinks about wrestling and how, like, the things that you need to do, um, to be successful. And, like, when you see her wrestle in the ring, like, what more do you need to see? Like, whenever I see her wrestle, I feel like I'm a 17-year-old fan again. Like, I don't know. I think it's so cool to have the opportunity to learn and, like, befriend and, like, the people that you used to look up to, because I was a wrestling fan, like, my whole life.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't really know about the indies until later on, but WWE was,
Yeah, of course,
like,
same.
every Monday, I would get a Little Caesars pizza and I would watch Monday Night Raw, and that was, like, my favorite time of the week. And I don't know, I feel like when you come from, like, a life where you just dreamed about this for so long, like, everything that happens is just so special, and it feels so cool, and it feels like I feel like a kid again sometimes, and so when I lost that for a few years, that was, like, really scary, like, to have, like, periods of time where I just didn't care, like, I was kinda going through the motions for a lot of things because I thought that that's what would keep me, you know, because at the time, like, I was going through it, but I still loved wrestling. I still loved it, so I didn't wanna give it up because I thought, like, "Okay, if you quit now, like, what if it never comes back? Like, what if it." And I think that's, like, a mistake of me thinking that way because I think what break is what I actually needed, but at the time, like, you don't know, like, when you're in
Yeah.
that situation and you're in a low period of your life, like, you don't know what the right choice is sometimes, and so I think that's why it's important to, like, have your balance and have the time where you can just, like, reflect on your day and, like, have the self-respect to say no to people and, like, not be a doormat. I feel like all those things, um, really, like, earn you respect, and, like, I think I just thought about things in a wrong way for a while, and I feel grateful to have the perspective and have the ability to, um, just, like, reflect on my own issues and like where I've been the problem and like not just wrestling, but like in personal situations too. Like I think it's easy to point fingers and say someone's toxic or say someone's like only cares about themselves. But I really do feel like when I see people act a certain way, like I look at them as like hurting. I look at them as like I wish like you saw like the good in people. I wish like you thought not saying that I'm like perfect, but I feel like the lot of people that I used to like think we're my enemies or think that we just fell off and like
Mhm.
I don't feel negative feelings for anybody anymore like because it only takes away from your own energy. It takes away like holding like this anger for people. It's like and holding like grudges for people I thought was like empowering in a way because I was standing on business,
Fuels
right?
you, yeah.
But it was holding me down so much, like, it was I would be going into shows sometimes, and I would see someone and, like, my stomach would drop, like, and I was coming across so unpleasant and so angry, and I was angry in a way, and, like, it was I just had to let it go, like, and I had to let things go. I had to learn how to do that, and I feel like when I learned how to let things go, I felt, like, so free, and I felt so good, and to be able to, like, look at past situations and say like, okay, like this hurt me really bad, but like, why did I feel like I wanted to pursue something that wasn't making me feel good? Like, what inside me kept me here? And I feel like when I was able to look back on my own actions and take fault, not saying everything was my fault, but when I was able to take fault for stuff and I was able to say, like, hey, maybe I could have showed up more healthy, you know? And when I was able to do that, like it the ability to take fault for that made me feel like so much lighter and it made me feel in control because I didn't feel like a victim anymore. I felt like I put myself in these situations and it made me feel so much better. Like it actually made me feel so much better
I
quickly
f
too.
I feel like you and obviously you didn't know this. I feel like that's kind of relevant to me right now in a different situation because there are people that, in this business that are shitty, start out friends, sometimes they transform and they turn out to be real assholes, but I guess I never thought about it as like maybe deep down they're going through I don't know. I
It's
don't
hard,
know.
it's really hard,
Girl,
I
it's
think, to
hard.
think about it that way, but I feel like it comes with inner work, it comes with, like,
Yeah.
knowing who you are, know who you stand for, and, like, having, like, the confidence to, like, have people not like you, because I
Mhm.
am the villain in people's stories, you know, and I know that, and I can hold on to it and, like,
Mhm.
allow it to, like, internalize and think about myself in the way they think about me, but, you know, when I really think about it, I there's people I don't like, so why would I have, like, this arrogance about me to, like, think that everyone should like me? Because I feel like when everyone likes you, you're kind of I don't know, like,
There's a
it maybe you're
pressure.
people pleasing, maybe, like,
Yeah.
you want everyone to like you, you're
Yeah.
because I feel like it's really hard to go throughout life without someone trying you in some kind of way, or like trying to take advantage of you,
Yeah.
or like trying to use you, or like talk bad about you. And I think having the confidence to like set boundaries and like say like I don't like this, or like be direct, will make people not like you, but it's worth it. It's truly worth it, because I would rather have you have that hate for me and have it hold you down than me hold on to something, because I have things to do. I have to make some money. Like I have to go to the gym. And do I
Mhm.
want to go to the gym and be sad the whole time I'm there? No. Like I don't want to feel that, because it's gonna like I'm not gonna be able to work as hard and accomplish like what I came into this industry to do, you know? It just I think it's really important. And like when I think about it too, like I started wrestling training when I was 20 and now I'm 27. So like I feel like I kind of grew up in this like industry, and like the things that I would accept like a year in, because you're new too, you want to make a name for yourself, you want to get out there, you want these companies to book you. But like I had to kind of like be real with myself and be just think about like where do I feel good? Where do I feel supported? Where do I feel like I'm learning? And I had to like be okay with not being everywhere and not being like present all the time, because I feel like in wrestling, like especially when I started, that's what I did. Like I wanted to be everywhere. I wanted everyone to know like that I work hard. And then when I went to go to like help companies, that's what I tried to do. And I thought at the time that that was enough. And I never thought about, hey, are you taking a day to rest? Are you sleeping enough? Are you like doing the things you need to do to not only like keep yourself going, but also like be an athlete? Am I getting my protein in? Am I like, because I need to go to the gym, I need to do these things, because the things we do, we're lifting people up in dangerous positions. And if I can't hold you up safely, like that's an issue. That not just for me, but like someone else's life. And so I feel like I take a lot of responsibility in that. And so the days where like I'm super busy and like it's hard to eat, or like I'm not feeling good, I think that's kind of what I tell myself. Like this is bigger than you. This is what you do for, and this is what you want to keep doing and be at a high level on it. So this is my routine. And it really is like starting a habit is the hardest part. Like the change is the hardest part. But I think there's a lot of like it's important to stay organized. Like I love my planner. I love to write things down. I think it's about learning like what makes me work hard, what makes me motivated, what makes me stick to my routines. And I think that's what we need to focus on.
Well, I it kind of brings me to, future goals. Before you were mentioning to kind of reflecting back on it. Obviously, we know wrestling was a long time dream of yours, but if you think back to little Blair, were there what did the younger version of Blair envision the older version of Blair doing? Was it always wrestling, or were there other uh maybe obscure or random dreams that you had when you were young?
No, I always wanted to
Okay.
wrestle. Okay, so for me, like wrestling was like I'll talk about how I kind of got into wrestling. I really do feel like it was a calling for me, because since from a young age, that's what I wanted to do. And I was not athletic by any means. Like as a kid, as a teenager, even like I went to the gym sometimes and I mostly did cardio. And I wasn't in like the best shape. So when I was telling like all my high school friends and people, I was like, I want to be a pro wrestler. Everyone was just kind of like, yeah, cool. Like, not really like taking it serious. Maybe at the time, like, it was kinda like a joke to me too, like, being, like, 17 and, like I didn't know about the indies, like, I just thought
Yeah.
there was WWE and it seemed, like, so big and so far away, so, like, when I was saying I wanted to be a wrestler, I did mean it, but I didn't think it was realistic for me. But when I went to university, I went to, University of Illinois in Chicago, and I, like, was part of, like, the anatomy program there, like and it was so cool, I loved it. I loved learning about the human body, but no matter what, like, I couldn't let it go. Like, I could not let the wrestling thing go. Like, I would be driving to school, like and I remember I would always pass by, a Colt Cabana podcast, billboard. This is actually what introduced me to the indies. I would listen to his podcast, like, every day going to college, and I would like learn about like all the stories, and like it was the coolest thing ever to like learn about that. And I remember like walking around my college campus like dreaming of this life. Like I would it's all I wanted. And so I think in the summer of 2018 is when I finally like signed up for a wrestling school, and it was like a last spur of the moment decision thing because I actually applied to Black and Brave in like the summer of 2017, and then I kind of hurt my knee a little bit, but like I used that as like I can't do it again. I freaked out. I
Mhm.
backed out. And so and I think it was a few months before summer 2018, I came home from my job. I used to work at Portillo's, and I saw that they tweeted like, "Oh, we had like one person drop out. There's a last minute spot for summer 2018." And I remember like reading it and I was like bawling, crying because I was so scared. I was so terrified to do this. And but I still did it. And I made the money in a few months, and like I moved out there, and like it happened. Like it was just such a quick thing. And it was like that's why I feel like I tried so hard to like because when I was like 19ish, I all I dreamed of was, like, stability, and all I dreamed of was, like, having a career that, like, I
Mhm.
didn't have to, like, struggle in, and so I was and I didn't think I didn't work out or like, I barely worked out. I didn't make the badminton team, like, I wanna be a pro wrestler, like, it
One
was a
of the
stretch.
most unpredictable
It was a stretch.
businesses. Yeah.
And so, like but I loved it, and when you love something, you will do what you need to do to get good at it, and you won't give up, and, like, I think the people that work the hardest in training are the ones that are making mistakes and the ones that are messing up because that it's so easy to do something right, you know, once you know it, but, like, to have the courage to fail and to have the courage to try hard and, like, have people be better than you, I think speaks way more volume, and I think it's important to recognize that, like,
Well, Blair, you are so good now that I believe this was your first time. You were recognized on the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Women's 250 list, where you ranked at number 241. I think it was your first time ranking on the list.
Mhm.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
How cool.
Do you recall your initial reaction to this honor and what did it mean to you?
Um, yeah, I was surprised. I the there's a company, Second Wrestling, and the promoter, Jeremy, he sent me a screenshot of it on Instagram. And I remember I messaged him, I was like, "Is this Photoshop?" Because well, at first I was like, "Whoa, cool." And so I like immediately like tweeted it out and stuff. And then something in my head was like, "What if this is a prank?"
That'd be a cruel prank.
And so I messaged him, I was like, this is real, right?" And he told me it was real. It was cool. Like it's so cool to I always secretly wanted it. I always secretly checked. And I was like, and then you know, it's always like, oh yeah, I don't care anyways. But in my heart, I think that stuff is cool. I think it's cool to be recognized. And I think it's a magazine with a lot of history to it. So and a lot of
Absolutely.
um people in the industry that I look up to were on that list, and to be recognized amongst them is insane. Because I did think like maybe a year and a half ago that I was done and like it was over and like I reached my peak and like it was time to go. But to have like this insane like turnaround, and I feel like it's happened really quickly because for like 3 years, like nothing happened. Like 3 years, I was just like trying to do my best, but something really changed, like, at the end of last year, with me and, like, how I thought about things, and I just feel like, I was supposed to go through what I went through at that time
Mhm.
to be able to get into this mindset and to be able to just, like, figure it out and figure out, like, not only, like, wrestling stuff, but also, like, the things I like and the things that make me happy and, like, not be so, like, dependent on external validation anymore and, like, not be so dependent on, like and be able to recognize, like, I want this because of the dopamine rush that it gives me, and, like, to be able to have that self-reflection, and I wanna, like, start reading more books, and, like, I wanna do, like, less scrolling and less screen time and,
Oh,
like,
it's so
get back
hard.
girl, I let me tell you, I went to my, like where it tells you your screen time and stuff, and for 1 week, I went to like the hours that I spent on all the apps and on Instagram alone, I spent 20 hours in
It's
1
me,
week.
but with
That's
Twitter.
half a full-time job.
Hmm.
You know what I could have done with that time? Like, that blew my mind when I saw that actual number of 20 hours on one app, I don't it it really when I saw that 20-hour number, I knew it was time to make a change. I really did. I said, "I can't do," and me, it's hard. It is hard. It's addicting, especially the TikTok at late at night. I'm
Oh,
very
that's what I'm probably doing. Actually, that's what I was doing before our chat just now.
the
Guilty as
out
charged.
the psychologists that figured out, like, how to get us to stay on the app did a really good
And then
job.
all of a sudden it's 3 a.m. and you're like, oh shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, but I also like TikTok for the fact that it's kinda like for me, it's not so, like driven or, like, performance driven. It's,
Yeah.
like, funny videos and, like,
Yeah.
makes me and that's what keeps me on there, I'm sure it is. And they got a shop on there too, crazy.
S-
Um,
I want to speak about a funny video though.
okay.
Tell me about this Pitbull concert with Shazza.
Mm. Oh my gosh, it was me, Shaza, Lainey, and Heather, and we all
Okay.
saw Pitbull and T-Pain at, Tinley Park by Chicago, and, oh man, it was so fun. They're one great performers. They sure know how to work the people and make sure we have a good time. Um, I've never danced so much in a concert, and I don't know. I haven't been to a concert in a long time too. I kind of want to go to more concerts. Um, I would love to see Billie Eilish in
Oh
concert,
yeah.
but the tickets like sold out, and I just that's
Resale's
also
probably like 3 grand.
if I had the money, no problem. I would love
Yeah.
to go. I'll buy the meet and greet tickets, but, if she has them, I would love to meet her, but, um, that's another financial goal to be able to afford to go see Billie Eilish. I think she's so cool. I love, um, I like her music video, like, aesthetics in, like, 2019. I
Yeah.
remember I used to watch those a lot, and I got a lot of inspiration from them too. I feel like I I think when, like, I started wrestling, I knew I wanted to be kind of like a darker character, but I kinda didn't know which route to take,
Yeah.
and so I feel like I'm still trying to change and grow and, like, change with the times, and I wanna keep things fresh, and, like, I wanna be different, and I wanna stand out,
You've
and
been
I think
introducing some brighter colors, with like
yeah,
black overlays and stuff, mixing it.
yeah,
I have
I've
seen
seen that.
you. You've always had
Yeah,
you've always had solid gear. It's just you in like a silhouette. It's just kind of changing it up. You could always explore stuff. If you don't like it, sell
yeah,
it. Make some
yeah,
dough.
absolutely, right. And I also recently I've been taking up a lot of creative projects, and I actually taught myself how to make basic gear in like the past and like my latest gear, I think the blue one that I've been wearing a lot, I got like a long sleeve gymnastics leotard online for like $50, and I cut off the sleeves and like I cut it in half and added waistbands to both and like did an iron on like rhinestone transfer. Yeah, I've been on my creative journey, but I think like what a great skill to have because some of this gear would be so much money and
Mhm.
then it rips in like two matches and it's like you see, I've had to get creative because I don't got the financial means. So I can't be I think like I spent a lot of money on gear before and I love DIY projects. I recently learned how to make my own shirts. I bought like a vinyl cutter and like a heat press, and
Ooh.
so we're getting creative. We're gonna make this money somehow.
Well, from gear to another costume in the Halloween realm, I feel like I didn't plan this really. The timing just happens to work out. It is Halloween season. I feel like you're one of the more spooky characters, so you kind of have a spooky background here as well. So we'll talk about that. It is about a week and a half away from Halloween right now at the time of recording this. It'll at the time of
Mhm.
this releasing, it'll be a week from Halloween. First of all, how into like the season are you like in general in the holiday?
I love Halloween. I love the fact that there's spider everything at the stores. I can stock up for the year. I like horror movies. I love watching horror movies. I love the idea of being scared in a controlled environment. It's right up my alley. And I don't know. I'm really excited. I've been thinking about like my costumes for this year. I did a Halloween project this year. I did kind of like I think I'm gonna release it at the end of the month. I did kind of like a short film with some wrestlers
Does it
and
have to
like
do with the Exorcist stuff you've been posting?
yeah.
Okay.
I've been trying to I'm trying to be better at like social media, but I'm so dumb when it comes to what time to post. Like I
I'm no
always mess it
better.
up. And then I'm like, but that's why I've taught myself to just post it and go. And if it's unlucky,
Hmm.
it is what it is. But I want to be better at it. I want to be like, so I've been trying to be a little more logical when it comes to like posting. Like, I've been trying to hype it up and stuff. So if you're listening to this, and it's probably gonna be on the 30th.
On Instagram or
And Twitter or
okay.
X too. Yeah,
Okay.
watch out.
We
You should
you've
go
seen
watch.
it if you follow her, you've already seen some teasers from The
Yeah.
Exorcist, which by the way, I should not my parents had me watch well, they didn't force me, but I watched the first X like the original, like the 70s one. I
Mhm.
think that's the original. When I was like 11 years old, when I should not have been watching it
Oh
at
my
11
gosh,
years old.
that's
I
so
do
young.
enjoy it. I love horror movies too. So I have
Mhm.
to ask you like top 3 to 5 horror movies, your favorites. I have to ask.
Oh, I'm the worst at picking favorites, but I'm gonna try. Alright. I really like this I don't know if it's scary.
Okay.
It I believe it's called Disturbia with Shia LaBeouf, where, there's, like, a serial killer or, like, a murderer living across the street, and he's on house arrest, and so he
Mhm.
always looks at the binoculars, and I saw it in movie theaters, I think, like, I was young when it came out. And when I was young, if I liked a movie, I would try to ask to go see it in movie theaters, like, 3 times. I think I did the same thing for Avatar. But I really like that one. I love the movie Hush from Netflix where, like, um, she can't see
Yeah.
or and there's, like, someone in her house. I love the idea of that. That's one of my biggest fears, man. Like, my house, like, I sometimes in my head, I'm like, "They wouldn't wanna mess with a pro wrestler. They wouldn't want him." But people
It's
are
like they
things
wouldn't
sometimes
know. They wouldn't
yeah,
know.
I listen to, like, a lot of, like, true crime like, I like those too. Can I use that as one?
Same.
Like, horror
Yeah,
podcast?
I was also just listening to a true crime podcast earlier today.
Yeah, but sometimes it freaks me out, so I have to stop listening. Because sometimes I drive through the night, from a show to get back home,
That's the
and
worst time.
that's probably not
What?
the best time to, listen to those, but sometimes you need to stay awake, right? And so if it
Yeah,
works, it works. Um, okay, so I'm gonna use that as my 3rd
sure.
podcast. Number 4, I love The Ring. I love that yeah, I think that's, I think I get inspo from that too. I like the idea of that, and I have to say The Exorcist.
The
Yeah.
original or which one? Because
I
there's
say
like a
the
million of
original.
them
I like
now.
the
Okay.
original.
There's a lot of great movies, especially during spooky season. I love it so much. Now, as I'm about to answer this next question, you're not allowed to say spider, just for reference. But it kind of combining wrestling with, kind of spooky season. If you could have any fictional or a mythological creature be your tag team partner for an evening, what would you choose and why? You're already kind of a spider, so you're not allowed to choose that.
I think I would want someone like the antithesis of me. Like I want someone who's bubbly. I think I want to team with Kylie Rae. I'm gonna put that out there into the universe.
I was
Um,
also gonna put in to the universe,
yeah,
a
I would
certain
love that to happen.
unicorn. I was also gonna put that into the
Mhm,
universe. A
mhm,
unicorn
yeah.
is kind of
Mhm.
opposite of a
You know,
spider, I feel
we
like.
have teamed before. We
I
have
know
we
you
would
have.
the spider corns at Journey Pro. I remember
Hmm.
that's a very, like, core memory in my
Hmm.
wrestling. I remember that was so cool. That was a cool day.
That makes sense. Unicorn, spider corns. I do
Spider
remember
corn.
that too. That was a
Yeah.
time. That was
We
a
ate it
time.
up at the entrance too, like, she did her pose, and then I crawled in. We said, "We're
Oh,
here. We're
okay.
here."
It's kind of you get a teaser, you think it's gonna be bubbly, and then Blair just comes out, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah. I love the contrast. I think it makes us both, like, shine in our own different ways. I love what, like, Tiffany Stratton and Rhea Ripley together right now.
Yeah.
I
Oh
love that.
yeah, Barbie, and then
Yeah.
the houses meme. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that got, like, a very, like, good reception online. I
Yeah.
think them together was
Yeah,
really cool.
Barbie and like the Addams Family,
Mhm.
that's like the best thing that I can come up with on the spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, final question, you talked a lot about, like what you're wanting, and like what motivates you,
Yes.
Obviously, one of your personal goals is obviously to, pay off your parents' house and all that. So I
Yeah.
guess professionally, what are some of your other professional goals for the next year or two?
2 years. I would love to start, getting out to, like, different parts of the country and, like, being able to, like, have people want to invest in me and, like, fly me out to places. Like, I think that's one of my big goals in wrestling, and I also would love to, um, be able to work with, like, different types of crowds and, like, different types of opponents. I would love to, be someone that everyone looks forward to wrestling, and I would like to help, like, the next generation, and I wanna help, like because I feel like I've definitely gone through a lot of struggles in my own career. If I could take some from that and, like, because I train at Freelance, like, all every week, and so I see people who are just entering wrestling all the time, and I feel like it's so infectious to be around people who, like, are just entering this, like, it's really
You're a
nice, and
vet now in some scenarios, yeah.
don't say that. But yeah, it's like it's interesting because some days it feels like I started wrestling, like, 2 years ago, but,
Yeah.
like, it's gonna be 6 years this October, and so, like, how grateful am I to even have had, like, a 6-year career? Like, I feel like that's awesome, but I
6
want
years next weekend, girl.
It's so cool.
27th.
And you
Yeah.
know what's so funny? You know, my, bestie, Devon Monroe,
Yeah.
we started wrestling on the same day.
Really.
Yes, of the same year, and, like, we became, like, such good friends. I remember, like, that's such a cool thing. I think that's and we get to share, like, a career in a way, like,
Mhm.
it's so cool you started on the same day. I don't know. I feel, like, also so grateful for, like, the people I met in wrestling and, like, the relationships I made and, like, I feel like I've learned so much about myself and, like, the things I like and where, like, I've gone wrong in life, and if I could take all of that and, like, explain to people just entering, like, "Hey, like, maybe focus on this," or, like, even, like, to get in, like, a position where I feel, like, good enough to even, like, be, like, a coach one day maybe, like, that would be an awesome thing to, like, be able to do or, like, have a class or, like, be at a level where I feel like I can have, like, a seminar and stuff, like, how like, to I want I feel like that's the stuff, like, at the end of the day, like, if money was an issue and, like and I didn't have to, like I not that I have to do anything, but, like, I feel like in my mind, I know what I'm working for, and I feel like if that was done and, like, I feel like I'm the type of person that wants the next thing, and I want to give back, and I want to, like I wanna make the life easy for people who helped me during a hard time, and I want to build, like, a sense of community, and I wanna have, like, deep, strong relationships with people, and, one day, I wanna get married, and, like, I want to have, like, a good life. I wanna be happy, I wanna travel, I want to have a dog, I wanna get a Great Dane one day when I don't have to work so hard because I
Yeah.
feel like now there's no way I have time for, like, a pet,
Yeah.
even a plant. But to have, like to be in a position in my life where I can live a little more versus, like, be so I love my life now. I love working hard. I love what I do every single day. But to be able to have more free time and, like, time with my family and, like, time with my friends because I feel like in my career too, I've lost a lot of people. I've lost a lot of people that I've cared about, sometimes at my own fault because I didn't show up. I was either in my head or like at work or like I feel like a lot in my life, like I ran away from things and like I would get so caught up in like feeling good because I'm working hard and I would neglect a lot of things. And um, in a way, like, it's fine, like, I wanted to choose myself at the time, but it comes with you losing people sometimes, and you have to accept it and respect their decision, like, I'm not mad at nobody, and I hope they're not mad at me, but, you know, as we grow in life, sometimes people come and go, and I think we can reflect and be like, "Maybe I should have showed up better," and, like, be better for the next people that wanna be in your life, and, like, I don't know, I feel like things are going well for me, and I'm grateful every day, and like, I think it's a lot about maturing and growing up too and being able to, like, have stressful things happen to you and have it not be the end of the world and, like, be in a mental state to deal with stress and, like, deal with, obstacles because that there's always gonna be obstacles, right? But I think the way we think about things and our perspective and, like, I think that makes all the difference, and I think you see sometimes people get to the top and then they fall because, like, it's it kinda, like, messes with your brain as a human, I think, in a way to be, like, cheered like that, at least it did for me, and
Yeah.
so I think I'm grateful that I had, like, my spiral and that I had my, like, fall and, like, I had my rock bottom because I needed that to happen, like, there was no other way I was gonna learn, like, with the way I was thinking at the time, so I feel like I'm at this point in my life now where I can look at it as like a blessing and I can look at the people who have hurt me in my life as like a blessing and it taught me what I didn't like and it taught me so much about myself and like that's really what it's all about, right? To like be good to others and like try to forgive others and like find peace and like go after our goals. Like that's all we can really do, right?
I wish more people were like the present day you, Blair. I really
I'm the
do.
villain in some stories. Don't forget. Like
Okay, how about this? I wish most people were like you then.
yeah.
Is that better? Okay.
It's just it's about, like, having the self-respect to work on yourself
Yeah,
and,
of
like, wanna
course.
get better and, like I feel like I'm grateful that I've been able to reflect on stuff, but there's people who live their whole life, like, caught up in it, and I don't think I'm better than them because of it. I feel like I wish people had, like, the capacity to get through their stuff, but, that's not the case a lot of the time, so I feel like with me knowing that, I can really look at, like, hurting people and just want the best for them and leave
Yeah.
that situation, like, feeling good because I know when I didn't know who I was and I didn't know, like and I let, like, people and how they treated me, like, tell me who I was, like, at the end of the day, that wasn't them, that was a me problem because if I had the self-worth and I had the self-respect and I knew who I knew I was a good person, then it wouldn't have mattered because I feel like the times in my life when I was hurting the most is when I had the most to say about other people. And did I have my life together? Absolutely not. And I feel like that's why I felt the need to talk negatively about others sometimes. And like sometimes it's good, like it feels good at the time, but like really, what is it doing like in our goals and like to bring someone else down? And like, I think I definitely had to be in like a place where I had to make that mistake and I had to learn from it. And I feel like that's really, like, all we can do, and, like, not I think it's also important to not judge our past selves for how we
Mhm.
acted. I feel like we really everyone grew up different, everyone experienced, like, different situations, so I feel like it's small-minded to think that people should think like us, and, like, because we think something is right, everyone else has to think that way. I think that's we need to recognize that we all come from different backgrounds and, like, different traumas, and, like, a lot of people get triggered by different things, so I think sometimes it's most important to just like walk away from situations and like keep your own peace and try to not to think negatively because at the end of the day, it's just going to keep us down. It's just going to keep like us in a negative like vibration, negative energy and like it does no good. It's not productive. It doesn't bring any good into the world to just like attack each other and like try to rip others apart. I don't know. That is how I feel about it.
Well, Blair, obviously, this has been such a enlightening. I love the kind of philosophical, psychological theme throughout this. I really do appreciate it.
I'll
As
be
somebody,
reflecting.
I have my degree in psych, did nothing with it, so this kind of ties a little bit into it. So I appreciate that. Obviously, though, before we let you go, please let the listeners know where they can find you online and support you.
My Twitter is Blair Onyx, but the Onyx is backwards. Um, the regular one was available. I thought it was different at the time when I first picked my wrestling name. And then my Instagram is just Blair Onyx, and then my TikTok is Blair Onyx. And I think I have a public Facebook now, also under Blair Onyx. It's just Blair. I think if you look Blair Onyx up on like
It's a
any,
very unique name. I don't think there's anybody else with that name, so you should be able to find her pretty easily.
yeah,
Support her across all platforms and stay tuned for her little Exorcist Halloween project you can see
please
on
watch.
Twitter and Instagram. Blair, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun.